What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Carlo, what up? I'm gonna wait another 2 minutes or so before we get started, but hey, Stio, long time, man. How's things? So this is probably, yeah, it's not gonna be a crazy long lesson, but the purpose of today is to really just get you into a groove of having a look at higher time frame POIs and yeah, just understanding where the market should have its turning points on the 4 hour, sometimes even the daily and the weekly, depending on where we're sitting in price. So yeah, just gonna kind of cover that a little bit. I've also finally just finished up the polishing on the new integration for Notion. I'm also going to show you how to integrate the template that I've sort of made for Day Planner, as well as just like a very, very basic goal setting Notion function, or yeah, Notion function, I guess is what we can call it. And yeah, so I'm going to do that. And then Dave is going to kind of take the floor maybe in about half an hour from now, depending on how long it takes for me. And yeah, just going to kind of end out the or begin the week rather with that. So I think he's going to be briefly touching on the weekly review, and then just getting yourself set up for the week to come, and that'll basically be it. So some pretty interesting on Bloomberg regarding the currencies expected EU to gap long this week. Yeah, it's possible. Very possible. I don't look at the news whatsoever personally, but that's never off the cards. Okay, so just share this. Yeah, this is not going to take up a whole lot of time this week. Basically just want to show like the last little bit of integrations and stuff to get us moving forward into the weeks to come. All right, cool. So I guess I'll just ask you guys some questions right now. I mean, yeah, we'll have a period for Q&A right at the end of this. So guys, anybody who does have questions, obviously try to keep them away from repeats and stuff like that, but we'll we'll answer questions right near the end. So yeah, HTF POIs. Right now, I would say that we're potentially in a position. I wouldn't really be looking to go long right now. You know, we're very heavily bearish on the 4 hour. I think there's a reasonable POI right here that we could come up and mitigate. Now, if we don't breach above this structural high, I would be very, very concerned about taking this as a counter trend move. So yeah, like, I mean, the purpose of the exercise, and every week they're going to be a little bit different depending on how things shape up on the Sunday. But like what I'm looking at right now, and again, it doesn't mean it's going to hold. It just means that like the area of interest is sitting right here. Now, this is like the first piece of the pie, right? In the POI flow chart, I don't have it pulled up, but you guys all should. One of the main factors is that it should come from a sweep. We can see that we've come up and already mitigated this. So this range, in theory, is already mitigated. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't come up and mitigate again. It just means, you know, at its simplest and its rawest form, the next area that we should be tapping into would be into here. We could very easily build some equals, sweep up, and then snap down. So again, like it's just, it depends on how these things develop, but it's just to give you an overall idea of what the market sort of sentiment is going into the week. So for me, what it seems like sells are going to be in control. I mean, it looks like we'll probably come into to sort of mitigate this range here. You can just see that we didn't have any inducement to sort of you know, sweep into and then be able to break up to the upside. So I think that there's a possibility that we can come down into this area and potentially look for some longs. It's just really going to depend on how things frame up over the course of the next couple of days, right? But I think the next course of action for us to really use our edge properly is going to be, oops, let me just go back a time frame and select 240. Oops, 240 supply. Very, very simple. And, don't overcomplicate something that's really quite simple. It seems like we've already changed character. We've come up to mitigate. Let's go down to like a 1 hour and just see what's going on. So yeah, you can just see a little bit better what's going on. Yeah, just looking to come up into this range. Now, at the most extreme point, you can see in the 1 hour that we do in fact have this demand, right? We have lower time frame liquidity right here to sweep into. So we could potentially look for some counter trend moves into here, provided we see a 15-minute sort of changing character. So that's kind of at the top end of today. Let's just go down to, 15-minute. So ideally, like right now, like you can just see how weak, and this is obviously towards the end of the, excuse me, towards the end of the week. So a little bit lower volume, but it looks like we're building to sweep. And then that might cause some sort of a pullback up into this region up here. But yeah, that's, I mean, from a higher time frame perspective, at least without getting too far ahead of ourselves, I think the main objectives for the market are going to be mitigate what needs to be mitigated. Ideally, create a change of character. Might develop like this, sweep, who knows? But the idea is that the long play or the short play that is pro trend would sort of correlate with this region right here, based on the fact that we've changed character. We've seen a huge purge of liquidity coming in to mitigate a flip zone that created the initial induced highs. And then from there, we also have like a flip zone in here as like a little bit of a more narrow POI. But again, we would still want to see a realignment on this time for on the 15 now, based on the fact that we are reacting to relevant demand. This is an unmitigated zone before a major break of structure. This entire area right here could be used as a reaction point. So we have a little bit more to kind of base this on a little bit more confluence to base our analysis off of this sort of POI in this region. So I would say that if we did end up sort of coming back into here, I would ideally want to see a shift in order flow on the 15-minute before having some sort of a sell bias. Does that make sense? Get a 1 in the comments if you're with me, 2 if you're not.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, so who knows how long this is going to take? You know what I mean? Like we don't, like, time doesn't know price and price doesn't know time. So it's just like, like from an objective sort of standpoint, the idea would be that basically if we were going to go short, ideally we would want to see this supply range get mitigated. And that's really what it boils down to. Now, personally, like you can see this POI sort of resting in here that does in fact react to like this little demand region like this. This is not an area that I would be super enticed into, based on the fact that this happened. If you just draw out your structure break, this actually happens after, right? So very similar to something that we saw last week down here. You want to be getting stuff, you want to be coming up to mitigate stuff before the break of structure, right? So basically from here up is the only areas that we'd really be sort of interested or enticed into the market. What else do I got? Let me just check my notes. So from a forecasting sort of standpoint, I don't want to get like too far ahead of ourselves. We don't really use the weekly. We don't really use, like, the 4 hours really like the highest time frame that we're really concerned with. So like I said, personally, I just like to leave it like that. I think that the main trade for the week, if we're going to keep that sort of idea of like, if we just focus on that one really high probability setup, like what would that look like? I think that the higher probability setup is going to come from within here. Now, not to say that we cannot take some longs up into here. It's just the higher probability setup will basically formulate itself within this region like this. So that's it. Like, I mean, from a forecasting sort of standpoint, like maybe we can start revisiting these on like Wednesday, or I'll touch on them in the pre-New York narrative. So it gives you the overall tone, right, for the week of like, okay, like ideally, like my optimal trade will come from here. Somehow for me on the M15, this retracement to the H4 demand looks like a compression for a huge buy. Well, we just got to read price, man. Like, I mean, ultimately, we don't know for sure. It could be like there could be a buy lining up, and we need to be mindful of the fact that, you know, we do have a 4-hour break of structure right here to a certain degree, or substructure rather. And yeah, there's a POI resting. Like I said, we can kind of flick between the time frames, but you can see the 1-hour POI that we're in, right? So doesn't mean that we can't move up. I have a very hard time seeing price wanting to migrate up in terms of liquidity, because we've already taken all the liquidity that rested here and left behind this, right? We don't really have equals to target. Like like there's not a whole lot of reason for price to want to travel beyond this point. It's not set up in terms of mitigations and equal highs, right? So yeah, don't get caught up just because we're in demand, getting all fucking wound up, looking to swing for the fences on the trade of a lifetime. You know what I mean? A grand slam, home run, whatever you want to call it. The facts are this. I mean, right now we're making a series of highs, lower lows, lower high, lower low. The next reasonable thing to happen within the market is very simple. We should be putting in the next lower high. And provided we see order flow shifts that correlate with our plan, the next objective would be to take out the lower low. And with something like this, you could swing a little bit harder down into the sweep because this is sort of like the last chance for the market to hold on, right? So it's just how you make this make sense. And it becomes so much easier when you just zoom out, right? And when you do this, and this is a good part of the reason why I want to start doing these forecasting sessions, is to really just give you some perspective on what it is that makes the most sense. If you had to revolve your entire week around one trade idea, doesn't it make sense to be looking from here and from here? Rhetorical question, of course, but yeah, the answer is yes, right? Just stay on the right side of the market. The right side of the market right now would be to take sells from here down into here. Is there anything else like that we should really be looking for? Not really. I mean, if we want to get fancy on a couple counter trend moves up into here, that's cool too. But like, if you wanted to focus your entire attention around one trade idea, that idea comes from here or at the absolute extreme of this leg right here. Very, very simple. And like, that's the approach that we're after here. And you'll notice that, you know, one of the really cool things is that if you focus on very high probability, high quality setups that are led by a higher time frame POI, what's going to end up happening is you're going to have a lot less fucking homework to do every single day if you just revolve your trade ideas around these really, really great areas for price to sort of travel into and away from. So if you like doing homework, I mean, by all means, you know, take a shitload of trades from, you know, point A to point B, point C to point D, whatever it might be. But I mean, the bottom line is, if you want to be a trader and you really want to enjoy, you know, what it is to be a trader at some point in your life, the freedom aspect is really what we're all after, right? So keep that ingrained in your mind. That freedom's what we're after, right? Money comes and goes too. So stay aligned with that higher time frame, man. That's all I'm trying to say here. I don't want to talk around in circles like I always do, but that's the bottom line. Wait for this guy. What else do I have here? Forecasting done. Okay, so we'll do a quick like 5-minute segment on Q&A. Hugo, I think you had a question, bro. If you want to cue your mic on, or if you're busy.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay, cool. Can you go to like a white space?
To a what? Oh, white
like
space.
Like a white space for me to annotate. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try to draw as best as I can. So this is something that kind of happened last week.
Okay.
Um, and I think it might help a lot of people because it's helped maybe sway us from going in one direction or the other in the flow chart. But so let me draw this.
Mhm.
And then liquidity, and then so we swept here and we hit like a H4 supply.
Mhm.
This is like the M15. And then we came down, reacted to some demand, broke. So at this point, you know, we're like structure and order flow is bearish at this point.
Yep.
So then what happened after that was price kind of did this, kind of reacted a little bit, came down. And so right now, let's say like we're reacting to some demand over here. Once we broke up here,
Yep.
we can now say that, you know, structure is kind of like this, M15 structure.
Yes. Okay. So I know exactly where you're talking about. And yeah, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. So then I was looking at it. Okay, M15 overall structure is bearish. Once we kind of broke this, we can sort of say, you know, order flow is turned bullish.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as we hit, and then when we hit the supply in the pro flow chart, this is kind of like where we land in the are we counter or pro order flow.
Yeah.
And
okay.
So that was kind of my question, because I know you did touch on the case study, but
yeah.
I think
so let me
answer
just
was kind of yeah.
Yeah, let me elaborate on this. Get rid of your drawings and we'll go actually
Okay.
like right to that actual chart example so that we can sort of talk about it in a little bit more detail. Yeah, it seems to have a few people hung up too, and it's a super relevant question. And there's a couple different ways that we can sort of answer this. The first thing that we got to like really obviously consider here is that, you know, we were in fact reacting to this demand, is the one that you were talking about, right? Okay, so we're reacting to the demand. We've swept into it. You know, at what point does order flow shift, and at what point does structure shift? And to me, and this is where, you know, the flow chart is very much written in black and white, right? So there's not a whole lot of room for interpretation, and this becomes that sort of double-edged sword for somebody like me trying to teach the strategy. Now, there's times where, so ultimately, like, can we agree or disagree? And I want your honest opinion on this. Is like right here, if we were to take this all the way over to the left, are we reacting to anything?
No, we're not. And I guess like the difference between kind of this one is just because we have a lot, like we have more going on, even though this one isn't really reacting from anything.
Well, yeah, but this also breaks a major piece of structure. And it also, like, you can see that we sweep down, we come down to mitigate, we change character, and this becomes an unmitigated POI on the 4 hour, right? So this one holds more relevance than say something like this, right? Because this was served by this guy right here, which was the flip zone before the initial break. So for me, this is going to get taken, right? This is going to more than likely produce the reaction to be able to then sweep down into the lower territory. So again, like the flow chart is really, it's quite a black and white sort of, you know, view or yeah, I guess view on the markets. It's just not always perfect like that. But with respect to that, okay, if you wanted to follow this flow chart to an absolute T, you didn't want to deviate away from anything, and you wanted to keep it as black and white as possible, all this would really mean to you would be that, okay, if we have a break of structure right here, okay, and we've switched order flow here. Where did we switch order flow from? Let's call it somewhere in here. Well, now you need to start deciding something, right? Does this POI have a sweep of liquidity? I mean, to a certain degree, there might be a lower time frame sweep in here, right? Now, moving forward through this, do we have any liquidity to take into the POI in the form of inducement? We don't, right? So this becomes an irrelevant POI, right? Like, and like, that's really what this boils down to. So the only POI that would really make sense for us to trade from would be something down in here, right? Now, with that being said, if we get a reaction to here and we push up, we can start to really look for this to come down into this sort of POI down here. Now, before I get like too lost in the sauce explaining this, the bottom line here is that this POI does not meet criteria, right? Because it doesn't really come from an area of a sweep. We don't really have, like we do have, yeah, it's catalyst for a pullback, right? That's more what it is. I don't want to be using like Phantom's terminology, but like the bottom line is like, the way that I interpret this and the way that I want it interpreted within the community is that this doesn't do anything relevant for us. It doesn't interact with supply. It doesn't break major structure. It's a demand zone that needs to get absorbed. And conveniently, we have built up mitigations to then facilitate the move into our original flip zone that we were looking for. So how to interpret this on the flow chart is, you know, obviously the premise of this entire question. And there's no real, the right way.
Yeah, no, my question was for the cells, actually.
Yeah, for right here, right? So that's what I'm kind of like leading myself to right now is that like ultimately like this still becomes a pro trend move, and like there's a bunch of different ways to kind of build this. So this is the highest point before we break structure, and if you look and put this across, we do not close above, right? So this is just basically a sweep, especially in a counter trend direction like this. This will always be a sweep to me, especially if we come and mitigate. Like obviously there's tons of external factors here, but like at the root of all of this, we don't close above. And I got a question today. I jumped on a call with somebody, actually two different people, and they said, well, what about the next candle, right? Because the next candle breaks above. Well, the next candle's job is not to break above this structure point and close above it. The next candle's job is to break above the next candle, right? Like this candle right here needs to close above here. And when you start to see this corrective behavior coming into here, this is where the lower time frame confirmations are. And you have to start to understand that, okay, like does the market have any liquidity to seek above this high after it's already swept all of this? And the answer should be, you know, quite obvious that there's not going to be enough liquidity above this high, and there's going to be more below these lows than anything else, which is obviously a direct result of the market wanting to navigate towards these lows before coming up to these highs. So in terms of the flow chart, I would still say, because we are not reacting to something that is relevant, that could actually shift order flow in a new trend direction, I think that this can still be played as if it is a pro trend because we have all of the criteria that is met for this POY, if that makes, like, I'm hoping that answers the question. As to like what avenue on the flow chart. So there's two different ways. Technically, it is a pro trend move in my eyes because we are still looking to trade this pro trend. I know we've technically seen a wick break of structure, but like let's say you even wanted to trade this as a counter trend, right? And like you see this as like, okay, like we've broken above, we need to see a 15-minute shift in order flow. So that would only happen when this breaks, right? So when this breaks now, you can see where I'm going, right? So now it just means that you didn't get to capitalize on any of the stuff from Friday, and now the new POI rests right here. So just like there's go ahead.
No, I kind of thought that we were still like the whole like bear structure was kind of like this, and I just thought this was like a order flow switch. That's why I thought when we came up here it would be like a, you know, we needed an M15 chalk to realign with order flow, but that's kind of how I thought.
Yeah, this is a really like, and this is what I was explaining to somebody earlier today too, is like, this is such a unique situation because this doesn't happen very often where we get these big induced sort of highs. So if you wanted to read this black and white for what it is on the actual flow chart, you would have needed to seen a 15-minute chalk to get involved. Right?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yes.
And then reading between the lines as to what's really happening and really seeing what's happening within price and understanding that this wasn't a relevant area to see a reversal. It was just to purge liquidity here. And then this flip zone was still our area of interest to begin with, based on the fact that we had something to induce. Then you could have actually used the pro trend model with this, with all of these other external factors. So as long as you understand both sides of that argument, and I know this is like where subjectivity really kind of comes in, and This is just proof that, you know, the market doesn't operate in black and white. There's going to be times where you're going to be out, you're going to have to use your discretion. And for myself personally, trading this, had I been available to trade this on the charts at that given moment, this would have been a pro trend move for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was definitely pro trend for the sales. I just was waiting for the M15 order flow to switch bearish, but it's like you said, this doesn't happen often. It's just something to look out for. Like going forward, you know, we can kind of pick up that detail going forward.
Yeah, and what I'm gonna work on a model, and we kind of had one in the original model that I just need to word it a little bit different. So I'm gonna work on a model that goes into the counter trends section that is going to basically show when these higher time frame intention moves sort of happen. And yeah, I'm going to work something in this week to make this make a little bit more sense so that we don't have any room for discretion. But it's tough without making this flow chart, you know, 5, 8, 10 fucking pages long. There needs to be a limit, and there needs to be obviously some discretion involved. So I will work towards that, and I hope that sort of clears things up. So you were right to have the analysis that you did. It was a more conservative approach. However, you could have still traded this with that pro trend, technically pro order flow model. Cool. In 1 minute chalk, should we go to 30-second, for example, to see if there are any available POIs? So I guess the question to kind of come back would be, is there anywhere on the flow chart that tells you to go to a 30-second chart? Doesn't mean you can't. It just means, like, if you want to reinvent the wheel, you know, you're gonna have a hard time, man. It's just follow along with the rules that are provided, and if you want to make some switches, just make sure that you're staying consistent with that, because every time you make a change, it becomes a lot more difficult to measure the success of that change unless it's something you are consistently executing. So I get where you're coming from, but it's also like, just wait until the setup shows itself, right? Like, and wait until all of the criteria is met. And if it means that you got to flick between time frames to do that, you better make sure that that's accounted for within your trade plan so that you can actually log your trades accordingly. After all criteria have been met and we go to our 5-second entry, in your experience, will you hold the 5-second flip with high regard if it neither interact with the extreme? I know the don't really know if I understand that. Jack, can you throw your mic on, man, and I'll get you to draw something for me. Hey, man.
Okay, I'll try to annotate now.
Please. Just don't want to, like, I don't want to answer if I don't know fully what you're saying. I'm pretty sure I do. I just want to make sure that we are on the same page here.
Okay. So I'm saying if it neither goes to the extreme nor does it come to the demand before breaking, would you actually like still look at it?
So you're asking, do I still look at this or do I look at the extreme?
Yeah.
Well, that's you would look at both. I mean, if there is no liquidity to grab within here, like there was no check like this, like more than likely there's going to, like, they're going to take this, right? So to make this simpler, if this just starts moving back like this is probably going to get taken and we'll probably come to the extreme, right? Because we're going to need a level of liquidity to sort of take to be able to reverse the market, right? So we need to satisfy the orders that rest above something here. So in the case that we did something like this and we continued down, I would then consider this as a potential relevant POI to be able to look for our 5-second confirmations, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then,
Thanks.
like I said, on the contrary, right now, if we just moved like this, the only area I'd be really concerned about would be above this high.
Okay.
Good question, though. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering the same thing. Could you type in a text box your visibility for POI? And could you type in a text box your visibility for POI and post it later? What exactly do you mean visibility for POI?
Like, like if you have like the 15-minute, it don't show on the 4-hour type of shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
so like when they're
And like
hidden
you-
kind of thing?
Yeah. Like, you have the 1 minute, the 1 minute, the 5 second, but the 5 second don't show on the 15. You know what I mean? Like the boxes.
Right. Well, there's a sequence of events though too, right? So like you're not even looking for a 15-minute POI unless the 4-hour shows something, right? And then all the way down from 15-minute, you're not looking for a 1-minute POI unless there's a 15, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of like an order of action too. So
Yeah, that's why I was saying if you
Yeah.
could like do a little screenshot, because I was trying it, but I couldn't figure it out.
okay, cool. Yeah, I'll make something like an infographic of some sort. I'll
Yes,
do
sir.
that whether it be
Please.
tonight or tomorrow after the session. I'll get something out for you guys.
Yes, sir. When you have the time. I
Yeah, no,
appreciate
that's
you.
fine. That's fine. As long as I know that people want it, it's very easy to just put it down on paper. I'll do that for you. Probably not tonight, but tomorrow right after the session, I'll get that done. Okay, cool. What else do we got? Okay, so I'm going to show you my hack job of a Notion template. I am no Dave, but this is it's very simple, very, very easy to use. I'm just going to show you what I ended up doing here. And this is what we're going to make do with for the time being. So I made this, it's just like a weekly agenda. It's a templated version that it comes with Notion itself. I've just kind of jigged it towards how we would use it. So I've just created like a very, very simple Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Just go like this. Anyways, you guys can fix all of that. And Friday. So I put like the bare necessities here, like all the stuff that happens with me. This is not, exclusively for stuff for me. It's more, put the stuff that correlates with your day. And if you want to really have something with like alarms and stuff like that, I mean, use Google Calendar, use iCal, whatever it is that you need to do. But this is just kind of like a point form checklist of like, okay, here's the shit that needs to get done for today. So first thing, did I attend the narrative? You know what I mean? Click it off, blah, 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 blah. Go through all your days. Super, super simple. You can add reminders in Notion as well. Okay, cool. Well, Dave, guess what? I've got a job for you, man. I'll get you to, we'll talk after the session and maybe we'll get that integrated. But
just so we can show people, see at Sunday
Yeah.
where it says webinar at 2 p.m. EST,
yeah,
right after that. So after the T, just put a space and do the @ symbol and write 2 p.m.
okay.
There you go. Today at 2 p.m. Click that. And now it's just kind of going to give you an alert, and you can delete the 2 p.m. part. So it could literally just say webinar at today, 2 p.m. And then that's going to, yeah, exactly. And then that's going to give you sort of a Notion app reminder. So as long as your app notifications are turned on, just double check. Actually, there was a little pop-up there when you moused over the date.
March 13th.
Yeah,
that's
or
today.
just click towards the end. There you go, right there. So just turn on that remind where it says none to at time of event, and then now it'll turn blue, I think, or yeah, it was red because it's
we're
in the
in it.
past.
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. There you go.
Cool.
So I just wanted, because it's super easy to do. So anytime where you have times showing up, like Thursday 7:30 a.m. EST live trading or whatever, you can throw the @ symbol in front of it, and it'll
Cool.
probably just turn it into.
Okay, guys. So anybody who has
Yeah.
duplicated this, just get rid of it for right now. And I'll just tidy this up right after the session. I'll repost the link, but just so that you can see how it operates. This is meant to, like I said, integrate into your life too, right? And you need to put the stuff that is relevant to yourself. I've kept an extra bullet point here. So as soon as you type and go down and hit enter, it's going to automatically bring you up another bullet point. So this is just like the bare necessities for our time together. And then at the end of every single week, what I ended up doing is I just took another goals template And I've just rejigged it a little wee bit to cater more towards our group specifically. So just says goal. I don't have like a big fancy SOP like Dave, but just says goal title here. So if it's like build a case study on a specific day or whatever it is, or go back and back test this New York session, whatever it is. So that's obviously something to do. It has to do with trading. It could be any of these things. Again, this is just like a templated version. Life skills, travel, finance, health, work, fun, whatever it is. And then I just created this where it just says define the goal. Sum up your goal in 2 to 3 sentences so you know what it is. Your actionable steps, like what are the top 5 things, what are the top 7 things. You can add as many as you want, or only have one actionable step, doesn't really matter. The idea is to just kind of be able to tick these off. So the way that this should be set up, or at least the way that I'm going to be setting it up for myself, is that once I define the goal, as soon as I actually have the goal with the title, I'm going to move this over into doing it. And then the actionable steps will need to be actually get measured out. So maybe I'll create an SOP for this, but I mean, it's pretty simple, right? And then as you finish this, once it's all finished, you're just going to go over to here and then assign it to done. And that'll populate over in the appropriate column. Summary, obviously, like it's good to just kind of reflect on the goal. And it doesn't necessarily need to be trading specific either. It's just something to bring to the table and keep everything centralized within Notion. So it's just after the goal is completed, write out a brief summary of how you felt setting the goal, the effectiveness of your actionable steps, and how it made you feel to actually accomplish the goal, right? And I mean, trading is very objective, right? And it's all about just getting stuff in the appropriate order, whether it be flowchart, whether it be actionable steps for what you need to do to complete your week on a personal, professional level, whatever it is. Now, where this really, it's nice to sort of have this off to the side, but the way that I set this up was going over to my specific trading hub is I just clicked and drag this over to here so that it then integrates directly into the hub itself. And I just put a spot for it at the bottom. So you have everything you need within your hub. You just click and drag this over and it's going to literally just sit here for you. So that way you have everything in one nice, easy to access spot. So again, there wasn't like a crazy amount of work put into this. It's just something to at least have some sort of checklisted, format to get you through your week and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it's going to help a lot of people along their way to just getting stuff into some sort of chronological order to be able to hold themselves accountable to what they need to be actually doing and focusing on. So yeah, that's my spiel on Notion. So give me 15-20 minutes after the session and I'll get this retemplated. I'm just going to go over to Discord and delete the one before. 2 seconds here. And yeah, I'll just put this guy. Yeah, I'll just leave it here for now. And what I'll do is I'll just change the link and I'll let everybody know when the link has changed or updated. And yeah, you can just basically, like I said, you're just going to duplicate it the same way you did with Dave's Notion template. And then you're just going to literally click and drag it into your actual trading hub, like mine's labeled trading hub. So if I wanted to just bring this over to here, I would just click and drop it and it would, just sit there and live there for now. Cool. So what else do I have? Goal setting. Yeah, so I'm gonna start doing these cheesy quotes, but basically every Sunday. They may seem corny, but they compound over time, right? So this week's quote is all battles are won before they're ever fought. So what that means is just understanding, like for us and how it's sort of relevant to trading is pick and choose your battles and where, like in this case, it's like the higher time frame POIs, right? Like where do we want to trade from? And like understanding that if we only focus our attention around that higher time frame POI, what are the actionable steps now in order for us to get involved with that trade in that POI? And when you start to think very like objectively like this and very strategically, you're just going to sit there like a hunter for a better part of the week and just allow things to sort of develop. And when that trade actually presents itself, you already know exactly, and your eye is already trained exactly for what it needs to do in order to capitalize on the move. So yeah, it's kind of corny. All battles are won before they are ever fought. And you know what? It's a huge piece of the pie. And I think these very, very small forecasting sessions are going to give a lot more success throughout the weeks if you just, sort of let the market come to you. So that's it for me. I think no need to be. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is POI selection. I'm not going to give a bunch of examples, but it was just like a little note that I had. I did get a lot of questions last week about like, how do you know which POI is going to hold? First of all, use the POI flow chart, and it usually gets you in a pretty good spot. But second of all, remember that like it's okay to have more than one POI mapped that correlate with the flow charts, right? It's okay to have two, sometimes three, whatever it is, and it's okay for things to shift and them not actually mitigate those specific levels and still have a relevant trade idea as it develops. So all I'm saying is POIs are meant to give you a very, very good idea that when something actually hits this specific level, and then the next objective is to basically see the criteria that is needed within the flow chart, the top-down flow chart, becomes very easy to know what that next strategic approach should be. So just remember that POI selection, nobody knows exactly what levels are going to hold. We have a really good idea of what levels or in what flip zones, what extremities should be holding, but ultimately it's going to depend on how things develop around that level to give them more and more relevance. So don't feel bad if your POIs are not holding, but just be mindful of the fact that we do usually need a level of liquidity to go into our POIs, and we also need something to target coming out of the POIs. So that should be able to clear a lot of the things up, a lot of the questions that I sort of received this week. Don't be scared to have the wrong POI marked. It's not a big deal. Just understand that you should have 2 or 3 kind of marked and understand what needs to happen at each specific POI to give it relevance. So one of the best ways to, ultimately, ultimately get you on that right side of the market and trading away from those POIs is like, okay, like let's say here, let me just share my screen one more time on the on TradingView so that I can give you a couple examples here. TradingView. Okay, so just for example, like we were sort of talking about this on, I think it was Friday, like structurally where this sort of sits is like the POI is resting in here. Yes, we have equal highs. Does it come from an area that sweeps liquidity? Yes, to a certain degree it does. So having this marked is okay, but then basically having some sort of a annotation and saying like, okay, here's what needs to happen at this POI, XYZ things, whatever it might be, and say, this is how I could get involved with this trade if XYZ happens. Okay. Furthermore, and you got all kinds of time while this happens. I mean, we only trade for what, maybe a total of 15 minutes every single day, like the actual functions of trading. So the next area should have been like, okay, well, the demand to supply flip was resting, ultimately somewhere in here, right? And we could just refine that down to this wick right here. And we could say like, okay, ultimately, if we come up into this level, here's XYZ things that need to happen. Here's the model on the flow chart so that it's not like once it hits there, you're scrambling around on your fucking flow charts and going, okay, well, fuck, I don't know if we're pro, counter, what. So all of these battles are won before they're ever fought. So the more prep that you put into it, the more likely you are going to be on the right side of the market. So it's okay to have 1, 2, maybe 3 POIs max. I would limit yourself to 3 because if you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, chances are you're not going to know what the fuck you're doing. You need to have at least a half decent selection, right? And that's what that POI flow chart is meant to do. So just remember, define what needs to happen at these POIs. Use the tools that are provided through TradingView. Don't forget that these are your, like, this is the basis of your entire analysis, and what work you put in is ultimately what's going to keep you on the right side of the market, because making decisions on a split second or on the flip of a switch is very, very difficult to do, especially when there's a potential trade framing up on a lower time frame. So anyways, just wanted to share that. We're going to get into more and more of that over the course of the next few weeks, of course. But yeah, it's just something that, like, yeah, you can have a couple different POIs sort of mapped out, and that's totally cool. But the bottom line is define what the setup would look like at each POY prior to price ever even getting into those POYs. Cool. I think people get me. Yeah, we definitely react, right? And like that's really what the bottom line is. It's like we don't predict the market. We very much sit and we have suspicions of specific levels, and you're allowed to have an idea of where a level should be, but ultimately how it reacts to the level is what gives it relevance, right? So, and that's what these flowcharts are designed to do, is like, okay, well, all of this stuff has happened. Where am I sitting on the flowchart now? And when you have all of these POIs pre-labeled as to what needs to happen, there's no emotion really attached to it. Obviously in an ideal an ideal world, but I mean, yeah, the more preparation you have, bottom line is it's going to put you in the driver's seat a lot more to making these decisions. Go ahead, Hugo.
Hey, I think after we reach the ROE counter or pro order flow, I think we mentioned changing the wording for have we hit the extreme refinement within the POI, I think, to structure. Would that mean like if structure was like this, would that like be up here? Is that kind of what we were talking about?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Or,
Exactly. The extreme refinement of structure, right?
yeah. Okay, yeah. So that wouldn't mean here.
No, that's not because that's not at an extreme, right? That's at a flip. So that's yeah, only up here.
Okay.
Cool. Anybody else have questions for me? I know we're kind of all over the place today, but I'm just like, yeah, reading back on notes that seem to be like, frequently asked questions here. How's the dog doing? He is very patiently waiting for me to go throw a ball for him across our backyard. So he's good, but he's very rowdy. Just waiting. We did all of our groceries today, as we usually do on Sundays. So he's been pretty well cooped up in the house by himself. Thanks for asking. I'll let him know that you were inquiring, Carlo. Okay, cool. I'm going to pass this over to Dave, and Dave's going to walk you through basically the weekly review of Notion and getting your week set up. Give me a sec, Dave, and I'll get you some access.
What's going on, guys? Yeah, I
Uh,
just need the screen share permissions, and then I
I'm going to
can
give you some permissions.
rolling. How's you guys' week been? How was your first week using the Notion template? Let's go. How
You're
were you
good
guys
there,
able
Dave.
to? That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, mine was good too. It was actually my first week actually being able to do it, because as you guys know, it takes a little while to actually do all the homework, right? And up until this week, I was building it, right? So I didn't have too much time to actually be using it, and it wasn't ready to be used right up until we made it available for all of you. So that's awesome. All right, let's use ones and twos. One, if you were able to do your end of day markups and case studies on the correct day, so the day of the New York session or whatever, each day, Monday to Friday, were you able to keep up, or was it too much? If you ended up having to do, Wednesday, Thursday on the same day or something like that, just drop a 2. But it looks like everyone so far was able to keep up. Okay, that's cool. No big deal. So for a couple people, it kind of builds up and you find that you can get a little bit behind, right? Fair enough. I'm just trying to kind of gauge, how much work it is, because the intention isn't to make homework or difficulty for the sake of having homework, right? The intention is to speed up the learning curve and to be able to, take as much as you can from a week's worth of price action as you can, right? Because if you are just available, let's say for 3 hours a day, yes, Hugo, I will go into that. Thank you for your question. But yeah, if you were only available for trading related things for, let's say, 3 hours or 2 hours or whatever it is that your current session time is, and anything above that is like stretching you, I would honestly say, at least until you are consistent with case studies and being able to spot these things in hindsight, that it's probably more valuable to literally comb through a session of price action and build case studies around it than it is to sit there trying to catch entries on a demo account or whatever account you're using. I don't know, Tyson, if you agree, but I think that there's a lot more value that you can gain, especially with the risk element not being like even on a demo account, there's still risk and emotion and stuff
Yeah.
involved.
From a
And-
foundational level, I think it's definitely better to start with the case study building and stuff like that first. And if you want to, instead of like going with the demo route, we could obviously do like the back testing route as well. If you wanted to just back test in hindsight after already seeing how prices sort of built. And I think it's probably even more beneficial to really gain that muscle memory by building the case study first and then going and back testing the case study so that you already kind of know what happens, which gives you that kind of confidence to know that there was a turning point in the market that did correlate with our flow charts.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you were pressed for time, it's probably more valuable to be using the template and going through it and doing whatever you can within your available, limited time that you have. If you've got a busy life outside of trading, which I'm sure all of you do. So just keep that in mind. It might seem like a burden at first. It might seem difficult. It might seem like there's a couple of things you don't know how to fill out. We've done everything we can to make it concise and everything we can to make it clear, with including the glossary, which I'll get into a little bit today. And the whole thing has got tons of like SOPs like written into it so that you shouldn't be able to get lost. And then with more calls like this that we're going to be doing every single week, you guys will be able to pick up how to do it and do it a lot more efficiently. So I'm going to show you guys a couple things today. This is the end of the first week since it's been available. So as you can tell, this whole template is based off of a weekly cycle. So at the beginning of the week, you get your trading week page and your 5 trading days pages set up. And you jump on a call like this and you get your pre-week forecast with Tyson and you kind of orient yourself in the markets. And then, you trade the week doing these end of day markups and case studies each day. And then at the end of the week, you review and you reflect. And then you get ready for the week again by jumping on this call and so on, right? And it's rinse and repeat. So I was going to add another tier of like a month on top of the weeks level, but I don't think that that's super relevant. The only thing that matters at the monthly level that might matter to some people is like how much money did you end up making? I think R and stuff like that is more relevant on a weekly, since we're not really holding trades beyond the weekend anyway. That seems like the natural end of the cycle for us to begin a new cycle, and there's no real tier above that. But you could, in theory, do reviews on your months and your quarters and your years and stuff if you wanted to as well. But for our purposes, I think that this is plenty. So let's dive through. I've made a duplicate of the template just to kind of have as an example where it's kind of like my little sandbox and I can draw stuff and add stuff to the databases without actually editing the real template and without showing you guys my version. So this is just an example, as you can see. So yeah, one thing I will suggest is, I'm sure you guys have all read this, it's not too much text, but read it again now that you have a little bit of experience with doing the different steps and understanding the different phases. Read through this again, because that's how you'll start to build familiarity with the terminology and the names of the moving parts and things like that. And I'll make sure that this is accurate if we do make any changes to the template, that's all properly reflected in here. So for now, I'm going to collapse this. I'm not going to be referencing this throughout this call, but you can feel free to have it pulled up on your second screen or whatever if you want. So I'm also going to close this news dashboard, but I think you guys know how this works. You can kind of just use, it's literally just like having this open in a web browser. It's just embedded directly into Notion, and then you can collapse it using the little arrow. So yours should look something like this at this point, unless you've already gone ahead and followed the written instructions and done your weekly review. But this is probably something like what yours looks like. I have no trades entered here. That's just because, like I said, this is just a duplicated version. So for you, you would have a different fractal market or a fractal ratio here that would indicate what percentage of the available R did you capture with your actual end of day markup trades. If you have a negative percentage, that just means, you were negative on the week. And so whatever L's you took are going to be expressed as a negative percentage. So at that point, it's technically irrelevant because like negative 20%, negative 5%, either way, it just means you didn't make money in the market. So that's okay. You guys aren't expected to like have this down pat after the first week, by the way. So it's all good. Just continue along as best as you can and use the Notion questions channel in Discord to ask any questions or send any screenshots. Screenshots are super, super appreciated because it's very difficult. Just like with charts, if you guys ask a question about, hey, Tyson, what do you do when the candle hits the, 15-minute POI and then it flips on the one, and he's going to be like, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Can you send a screenshot? Same kind of idea applies with this. So if you guys have questions, screenshots are super appreciated. I've had a few people hit me up in DMs. That's also fine. I would prefer, just so you guys know, to use the public, or whatever you want to call it, the more open channel, the Notion questions channel, just because that way everybody can learn from everybody else's questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
We'll actually keep it as, so we'll actually make it mandatory that nobody DM us moving forward, just from this week on, if that's cool with everybody. And the reason why is because you kind of understand how the channels work now. You understand that, the criteria for us to answer a question, we need obviously some sort of screenshot. And the idea is that we grow as a community. In the case that we feel that we need to reach out to you because we need to answer something more specifically, it'll be up to us whether or not, and our discretion, whether or not we should be DMing you for it. So just moving forward, please, guys, we'll just keep it that way so that everybody can see the questions. Sorry about that, Dave. Just wanted to
Cool. Yeah, no,
make that
perfect.
simple for everybody.
Yeah, that's nice and easy. So yeah, I love hearing from you guys. It's not about that. It's just like Tyson said, it's best if everyone can see everyone's questions, and we can all learn and speed up the learning process by seeing what other questions and how they get answered. So that applies for trading questions as well. And there's no such thing as a stupid question, guys. So don't be. I know sometimes it's easier to DM somebody because that way you're only showing your incompetence around a subject to one person instead of to 100. But it's really not like that. We're all here to learn. We're all here to better ourselves. And yeah, so don't feel any sort of like shame or fear about posting a question in the channels. Cool. So this is something like what yours should be looking like at this point. Like I said, you'd have your trades all entered on these days. I don't even have the templates applied, so I'm just going to quickly do that, but you guys would already have that done, of course. And then I'm going to show you how you would basically complete a weekly review and how you would get ready for the upcoming week, just to sort of reiterate that process. I know a lot of you guys have seen the intro video when we first launched this and all that, but we're just going to keep going over it and hammering it home until this stuff becomes second nature. So as you can see, we have the 5 days. Now, one thing that did come up this week, I'd like you guys to have your Notion up or, somewhere visible on your screen while we do this, just so you can double check as you go. But I think on this Trading Days database on the main page, the middle one here, there's a one that says this week. If you go to the sort rule, I believe this one was set to day or date, sorry. And so some people had it out of order like this, where technically, alphabetically speaking, 10 is lower than 7 because it starts with a 1. So this appears in the wrong order. So all you need to do to fix that is click on sort and change it where it says date, which is actually the name property. So it's reading this name alphabetically, and switch it over to the day, which is a calendar property, which is then going to read it in terms of the actual date in terms of chronological order. So that's the quick fix there. I just made a mistake when I set that up. So rather than have you guys have to like reduplicate the whole template and move all your trades over, I'm just showing you how to fix things as we go. So that was just a minor bug. So for the for the view titled this week, please just fix the sort. And then I think on today, there's only 1 day visible anyway, so there's nothing to sort on that one. So this week is always going to show you all 5 days. And then today is just going to show you where the day is today. So that means if you leave it on this view, when you show up to your Notion the next day to trade, it'll just show you one card, just like this. It'll show you one card for your trading day, and that'll be the day that you're actually on. So it just keeps things limited. So you're not worried about yesterday. You're not worried about tomorrow. You're just seeing 1 day. So it's up to you how you guys want to view it. I just included both options. I personally like seeing all 5 at once and then just clicking into the day that is applicable, but it's personal preference. So whatever you guys want, they're both set up there. So yeah, just fix that one sorting rule, change date to day. That's all you have to do, and leave it as ascending, and then it'll show you in chronological order here. So someone had messaged me about that. So thank you for pointing that out to me. Awesome. So now we're going to do a weekly review. The first thing you would do is you'd open up the weeks page, and then I like to maximize it by clicking the open as page button in the top left corner, which just kind of maximizes it. And you would see your 5 trading days linked right here. You would have your start date and your end date already inputted, because that's how we start the week, is by setting up these properties. You would have your R trades taken. I do want to double check that these are also correct. So this one, they both need to be set to sum. And I think one of them might be set to show original, where it would just show you with commas in between. It would show you your R. I think it's either this one right here. See, profit trades taken. That's one other thing I'm going to have you guys quickly edit. So if you're following along on the property called profit trades taken, you just click the pencil, this one. and change the show original to sum. And what that's going to do is it's going to add them all up instead of showing you them as individual profit numbers for the 5 different days separated by commas. So that you only need to change that anywhere. It doesn't matter if you change it in the template or not. It's going to apply across all instances. So yeah, that's just a quick fix there. And don't worry, I'll do a written update in the channel as well. If you're not able to follow along right now, that's okay. I'll write this stuff all out as we after this call. I'll drop it in the Notion channel, so you guys can fix it later if you need to. So anyway, you would see your profit. This would be from your trades taken. It would sum up everything, all your wins, all your losses, all your break evens, everything that you put into the profit section of your trades. And then you'd see all the available profit that you captured by doing your case studies. And you would also see your fractal ratio for the week, which is basically just the R divided by the available R. And it would just tell you based as a percentage, what percentage of the moves you're able to capture this week compared to like essentially a flawless execution of the trading plan, because yeah, you'd be doing this all in hindsight. So that's what you would see at the top here. There's nothing to fill out manually here. It's all just the manual stuff is this, which we do at the beginning of the week, and the title, which again, we do at the beginning of the week. The rest is all calculations and the date, I guess you fill in at the beginning. So the weekly startup process is explained on the main page. So that's just part of this template. So if you ever get confused as to what to do, you know where to find it. And then the weekly review process is now at the end of the week. And there's this big warning here that just says, make sure all of your trades are documented and all of your case studies are documented, because that is the basis of the review. And so if you haven't done that yet, then you're jumping the gun, and you can't actually review the work that hasn't been inputted into the system, right? There's also this little drop down here. Ensure all trading days of this week are linked above, because if you don't have all 5 days linked right here, then it can't properly roll up the R of the trades taken and the case studies and all of this information that it takes from these 5 individual days. It can't actually read that. So that's just a quick little reminder. So you check that off, and then fill out the date above. So again, this would be done at the beginning of the week. So if you haven't already done that, then just double check that this date is correct. So it's just, these are kind of just like a catch all, nothing slips through the cracks kind of things, but they should be done at the beginning of the week. So you can close that once you're done. And so now you're going to review your taken trade. So down here, this should be already linked to the correct week, because that's one of the updates I made. If yours says something else, you would need to edit the template of I think the trading weeks database. So it should automatically already show you the trades that are linked to this week. So if it's not, then drop a message in the Notion channel and I'll get you sorted. But I posted a video, it was like a 5-minute video that showed you guys how to fix that. Now, all of your trades would appear here as a gallery, your taken trades. So I don't have any in this version right here, but if there was a trade, it would show you like EU long or EU short. You would see a thumbnail of the trade, how it played out, and it would tell you your win amount, your dollar amount, your R amount, all that sort of stuff. It would show you right there. So you would review it. You just open it up and you would look over it again, and you have your links. If you want to pull up the links to the 4-hour and the 15-minute and whatnot in your browser, you can do that. You can see sort of what was going on. You can see what mindset you were in. And this is where the debrief section really comes into handy. So I'm just going to go over that really quick so you guys know what I'm talking about. So if we open a trade, I'm just going to quickly create a sample trade and open this up and make this actually a real day. And I'm going to add that this was a loss, a taken trade loss. So that fills out a couple things like -1R, that it was a trade taken, that it was a stop loss. It fills those things out automatically. But yeah, you would have your screenshot of the trade up here, and then you'd have your 4 links, or if you don't use the 5-second, you'd have a couple links here, 3 links, and you'd have it all here. But what I'm talking about right here is this debrief. So this is a text property where you can write whatever you want. And the purpose of this is to kind of recap in your own words what happened. So you could say, okay, price came up, it mitigated the 4-hour supply, and we got a 15-minute chalk down as expected. From there, I identified my 1-minute POIs, followed the flow chart, price came up, and I got in too early, my stop loss was too tight, and I got swept out, and then the move was actually correct. So you're able to kind of just explain yourself to yourself, and so that in the future, when you review this trade, you can put yourself back into the frame of mind of what happened. And that, in that sense, not all losses are equal, right? Some losses are like, I was totally lost in the sauce. I was on my phone looking at Instagram stories and being jealous of all the guys that had already hit 20R in the first hour of the session and blah, blah, blah. And then I jumped, I looked at the charts and I hit sell and I was wrong. That's a different type of -1 than one where you were just just barely wicked out, your analysis was correct, you just got in a little too early, and so on. So this helps you differentiate between different types of losses, right? You can look at things differently. It gives you more objectivity than just a simple, like, this one's -1 and this one's also -1. They're not equal, right? So it can help you sort of fix bad habits and really just understand where you might have gone wrong in your process, as opposed to just strictly based on technicals, right? So make sure you fill this out, just like 1 or 2 sentences or whatever it is, after each trade that you take. You don't have to fill out the debrief for case studies. It's a trades taken property. So you can leave it blank for your case studies. There's a couple things also that people have asked me about. I'm just going to quickly touch on. So this money section here, these lines, that's just, it's literally just, it just exists to separate this section from this section. So it's kind of like a dummy property. You don't have to write anything in here, just leave it as these dashes. And then these partials are anytime you close a position, whether it was a loss, a break even, a partial profit, or a full TP, you would put the first one here. And this is only for live trades, not for case studies, because you're not going to be taking partials on your case study trades. You might mentally make note of where you would, close 25% or whatever, but it's too much work for something that doesn't actually matter all that much, where you would be taking partials and all that, right? You can identify.
The idea too with like the actual case study itself is to show what that full potential would be at full TP in relation to how we utilize the flow charts.
Exactly. And over time, that helps you build confidence with holding trades longer and understanding which ones are likely, to run these lows and which ones are likely to kind of, bounce off those lows or whatever it is. So yeah, the partial section is strictly for your trades taken. So let's say I closed a trade in 3 pieces, right? It was a $500 risk. So maybe my first partial was $500 because I wanted to cover my risk. My second partial was, let's say, $1,200 because it met a certain demand level or supply level that I wanted to take a partial profit at. And then the last part came back on me and it actually hit my open stop loss. And that was -500, or at that point you would have closed quite a bit. So it'd be like -250 or something like that. Right. And then this is going to total up your trade profit for that. For case studies, however, and I'll answer Hugo's question while I'm in here, but case study profit is going to just strictly take your R case study. So if this was put in as a case study trade, you would put in whatever was available as your R. So let's say it was like 20R. It would take that number. And I know I'm filling them both out right now. You wouldn't fill out both the R case study and the R trade taken on the same trade because each trade is either one or the other. It can't be both. So yeah, you wouldn't be doing both types of R on the same trade, just to make that clear. But it would take this, it would multiply it by this, and it would use the dollar amount of your account that you have in this formula to come up with the profit. So if you had a 20R trade at 0.5% risk on a 100K account, that's equal to 10K. So it just does that math for you, saying, hey, if you're able to take a 20R trade full volume on 100K, that's what this at 0.5% risk, that's what this equals. So for anybody who's not using a 100K demo account or not using a 100K funded account or whatever, and you would like to change it, just simply click anywhere on any trade in any part of your thing. Just go to this section right here, click on the number, and right here, this 1E plus 5 is, it automatically does this, but it's scientific notation for 100,000. So if I type in 100,000 and I click done, it's going to change it back to 1E5. I don't know why, but it's just a scientific notation for the number 100,000. If I had a $5,000 account, I could put in 5,000 here, click done, and it would say that that was a $500 profit because you made 20R on 0.5%. That's a 10% gain, which is 10% of 5,000. It would just do that. So all you have to do here is just change this number in the middle here to whatever your account balance is that you like to use. And so the purpose of that, if you read on the, where is it in here? Or is it in the trading days? Sorry, my bad. In the trading days, there's an SOP for how to do your case studies. And it says, if you have a different account size, make sure to edit the formula. So that's what I just showed you how to do. And this is going to auto calculate your case study profit for you based on a 100K account. If you have a different account size, change the formula, and says, please note, this is just a rough estimate of potential profit as it won't take into account fluctuations in your account balance throughout the week or month, or any partials. So this isn't meant to be like super precise, like, oh, this trade would have actually made me, $11,219 because I would have partialed here and my account balance was no longer 100K, it was 104K because I profited last week and we're in, the second week of the month now. It's none of that's relevant. It's literally just going to use the base amount of your account, just as a comparison, right? So there's no way to kind of make it track your actual account and the ups and downs. So it's just going to always use the same value to calculate your profit, even though your account might be going up or down throughout the month. So it's not going to be super, super accurate, but it is going to be, good enough to compare your results to. Okay. So, and then there's the link to the glossary for a full explanation of all properties, which just once again shows you a rundown of all the different properties in all the different databases and explains what they represent and how to fill them out. So this shows you the partials properties are only for taken trades. So again, everything is inside the template itself. If you just go look and read it all, I understand it's not going to be immediately clear and obvious what everything means, but I did my best to make sure that every database, every property is all explained right here, and it explains how to do it. So moving right along, if we go back to the weekly review, that's kind of how you would be reviewing your trades taken. So you have all the actual trades you took, you have the debrief that you filled out after your session when you're logging your trades, you're filling in the debrief, being like, this is what was going through my mind. This is why the trade worked out. This is why the trade didn't work out. This is what I failed to consider. This is why the trade was really awesome. Whatever it is that you kind of are feeling in that moment. And it gives you that opportunity to just express things in your own words instead of just using drop downs and toggles and stuff, because there isn't that much clarity at the end of the week when you look back and everything's just indicated by, these little labels that we have built into the trades database, like, M15 supply or whatever. It gives you a little bit more opportunity to be vocal about what exactly was going through your head. Okay. And then you would continue following this process here. So you review your taken trades, reread your debrief for each taken trade, and review the outcome and why it happened. So this, again, just puts you back into the mindset of what happened. So you check that off once you've gone through all of these. And this would show you, if you took 20 trades, it would show you all 20 trades. Then you review your case study trades, reread your debrief. Sorry, this needs to be eliminated because there is no debrief for case study trades. I'll fix that. So that's 3 things I gotta write out in the Notion channel, but yeah, I'll fix this as well. So there isn't actually a debrief for case study trades, but you do review them. You can say, oh man, that would have been epic. Like, you know what I mean? There was 37R on this short and it would have just run the week lows or whatever. And that could have been fucking, I don't know, 17 grand or whatever on a 100K account with 0.5% risk. So it's just really to show you what's available with this strategy and keep you motivated and keep you plugged in and learning this stuff long-term. And then finally, once you've reviewed all the case study trades, you would fill out the reflect section before the new week begins and create a new week in the trading weeks and 5 new days in the trading days as outlined in the homepage. So that's what I started off by showing you guys, but I'll show you real quick one more time, just how to set up next week. So you would reflect down here, you just write out, how do you feel? What's one thing you did really well? What's one thing you aim to improve for next week? And what was the most valuable lesson? So this is really like the whole entire process. This stuff here, reviewing the trades, it's like, yeah, it's going to help you solidify a little bit about the flowchart models and about the trading strategy and all that by reviewing it, right? It's extra, it's that muscle memory, it's extra repetitions that you're putting in. But it really, the purpose of doing that is so that you can take away something from this week before you put it in the rear view forever, right? This week is not done until you take something from it. You don't want to just live a week and then just start the next one. You want to live a week and be like, what went well? What can I do better? What can I actually take from this as a lesson? And how am I going to improve next week? And then now you're starting from it's like going up a staircase. You're not starting next week on the same level that you started this week. And so this is how you actually compound and grow and build your understanding quickly, efficiently, and strategically over the course of 12 weeks or 24 weeks or however long you are committed to doing this and however long it takes, as opposed to what a lot of people do is they show up for the session, they click some buttons, they try to recognize some patterns, they go on Instagram, they feel bad, whatever, they come back the next day, they click some more shit, they're slowly piecing things together through osmosis, but it's almost like happenstance, it's chance. It's like, oh, I saw this over here and I saw that and I'm starting to get it. And you're like, your integration is not as strategic as something like this, right? So if you do this, this will actually help you build your foundation week by week by week, and you have the opportunity to then ask questions and really identify your sticking points, what you're struggling with, all that kind of stuff. So it's very valuable. It doesn't need to be, paragraphs and essays under each bullet point. It's literally listed as a bullet point. So you can literally just use note form. Like it's not a, you're not handing this in to your high school teacher or anything like that, where they're going to rag on you for punctuation in capital letters. Like literally just get it out and move on. Okay. So it's listed as a bullet point on purpose. That's why the template has this list formation. So obviously if you want to do paragraphs, be my guest. It's just not letting you know it's not required. So once you're done that, you're basically done. You just have to go and create a new week. So I'm just going to check this off because we're about to do it. And so last is you're just going to go here. You're going to click new week. And you're going to do, what is it? March 18 to March, what is that? 24, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then I guess I'll know right here. So then I'm going to change this
25
to
sorry.
14.
Never mind. My bad.
No, wait, it's March 20. Wait, I'm tripping right now. 7 to 11. It should be 14 to 18.
There you go.
I don't know where my head was at. I was adding 7 to something, but I was adding 7 to the wrong stuff. Okay, there we go. So March 14. Then I'm going to turn on the end date, and then I'm going to click 18. And so now it should say literally March 14 to March 18. And that's it for now. First, we apply the template, and then that's it. Click out of here. Then we're going to go down here, change this filter to show us trading days contains the day we just made, this one right here. And if you don't see it because your list starts getting really long over the next 12 weeks, just start typing, type MAR 14, and there it is. So you click that. So now what that does is it's only going to show us the trading days that are linked to that. But since we haven't made any, it's not going to show us any. However, by clicking new here, it's automatically going to link it. So that's the purpose of switching the filter first, because that way when you click new, it's already going to have it linked. You can of course link it later or whatever. There's no real right or wrong way. I just find that to be the most efficient way because it's one less property I have to fill out. So now I'm going to do March 14, and I'm going to click template and make sure that this date is correct. Always make sure that those match, especially because we're going to be setting up all 5 on Sunday. So these dates are all going to default to say March 13th, which is not correct. And then I'm going to click new, click template, March 15, click on this, click on 15, and we're done. Click new. See how it's already linked? That's because I went and updated this filter before. It used to say last week. And then if I added something here, it's going to link it to last week, which we don't want. So I'm going to delete that page. So that's just a quick way to make sure when you switch it, do this step first, March 14th. And then that way, as you add things, it's automatically going to work out. So what day are we on? 16. So let's do 16. And you can also just copy this. It's a little bit faster. So let's do 17. Click in here. Oops. Faster as long as you don't make mistakes like that. And lastly, you got 18. There we go. And now you got them all set, and you just need to apply the template, which is, you can do that on the day of, or you can do it whenever. But yeah, there you go. So now your week is set up, and then you can go back into, so this week is going to be filtered out. So this March 14 to 18 is actually not showing here because this is set to show us the start date is within the past month. So technically the start date is tomorrow. So it's not within the past month. So we can actually add a filter if we want, say, or start date is tomorrow, is tomorrow. And then that'll always show us, because by tomorrow, the start date will be in the past month. And so it'll always kind of show us that. If you wanted to, you could add that. But it'll just automatically appear tomorrow. And until then, it's not really of concern anyway. But yeah, that's it. That's it. We're set up for the week. We've got our week set up here. We've got the start date and end date put in, and we've got the 5 days coming up. And that's always going to be right here for you as you go through the week. And if you switch it over to the today view, it'll always just show you today. And there's today's Sunday, which is not one of the sessions. So there's nothing here. But as soon as the calendar flips over to Monday, you'll see the March 14th one right there sitting waiting for you. So like I said, I prefer this week, but if you want to just see one at a time, you can see that as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Is there any questions about any of this? I haven't been looking at the chat, but I'm going to stop I'm not going to stop the chat. Let's see here. So a lot of work, but mandatory. Is there a way to change the calculation using different than 100K account? Yes. So I went over that. How do we get the updated Notion template? The options are you can duplicate it, but then you lose all of the trades and case studies that you've logged, and it's going to be a little bit like technical and complicated to move stuff over. So I would recommend just following along. If I've made any small changes, like I adjust a filter or something like that because of a mistake or a bug, I guess you could call it, that was made during the initial setup, then I would just try to keep up to pace with that. And I'll post videos and updates, written updates in the Notion channel for any small tweaks that I make like that. So just keep your eyes open for that. This thing's kind of a living, improving, process throughout these couple of things. If you don't mind, I'll share our chat so it can be updated on the Discord channel. Yeah, you go for it, Carlo. That's awesome if you're willing to share that. Can you review how to enter the profit line on a particular day? My profit line was not able to be edited. So, so Chris, your question is referring to a specific trade. Sorry, this was almost 20 minutes ago. My bad. How to enter the profit line on a particular day. So the profit on a particular day, you don't enter. It's calculated based off of the trades that are linked to that day. So if I open this up, because I did link, maybe I removed it, but I think it's in here actually. So if I open up March 7th, did I link a trade? I thought I linked a trade to one of these, but anyway, the profit here on this day, the profit is going to be calculated for you. Does it show profit? Yeah, profit taken trades is going to be, so anytime you see this little sideways M, it's a Greek letter called sigma. It just means a formula property. So a formula property is not something you have to actually input yourself. It's going to be a formula calculated based off of other things. Anytime you see a magnifying glass, that's a roll-up property. And roll-up properties are gathering information from another database that's linked to this particular page and rolling up all that data. So in this case, total taken trades profit is going to roll up all the trades profit that are linked to March 7th. So any trades that you took on March 7th, all of the profit, it's going to roll up and get added up into this one box here. So anytime you see magnifying glass or a sigma, you do not have to fill that out. It's going to automatically do it for you. These arrows represent links to other pages in other databases, which you do have to technically do sometimes, but a lot of the ways that I've designed this is that those links are automatically going to happen if you input the pages into the databases the way that I show. So hopefully that clears that up. If not, could you please just take a screenshot and let me know what you're struggling with over in Discord. How do we change the account amount? So one more time, if you're in the trades database, which can be accessed from anywhere, but it's right here on the homepage, anywhere in here. Oh yeah, here's the trade. It wasn't linked to a trading day. That's why I wasn't able to see it. But anytime you're if you make any changes to these properties, it's going to apply across the board, not just to this particular trade. So like if I added an option here, it's going to now be an option on all the trades in the trades database. So just be careful with that. But how do we change the account amount? So that's strictly done in the case study profit property. If you just click anywhere where it has the number, this number right here. So this is saying the property that's risk percentage multiplied by this number times the property of our case study. So it's just multiplying your risk percentage times your account balance times how many are, which is just a simple way to calculate how much you made on a trade. This 1E plus 5 represents 10 to the 5th power, which is 100,000. So if you had $1 million account, you could just change that to a 6, or if you had a $10,000 account, you could change it to a 4, or you could just type in 10,000 and then hit done. And now you can see that this number went down because it's 1,000%. Or
So Dave,
sorry,
sorry to
$1,000
cut.
now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
So is there a way to template this for somebody? Like when they actually change this property right here, does that template it across the board for them indefinitely?
Yeah. So your
Okay.
trades database is always going to be calculating based off of that number.
Right. So like if they just put it in this one time and you were to leave this and walk away and then basically go about like the rest of your cards for trading days, it's just going to automatically save based on that value, correct?
Yep. Yep.
Oh, awesome. Just want to make sure.
Yep. Anywhere your trades database is linked or is involved or doing any calculations, it's always going to base it off of whatever number is in here for all cards, not just this one card.
10-4.
Yeah. Just like if I change this to mental state or added that, and then I did another page here. Oops. And then open that up. It's going to say psychology mental as well, right? Because I'm changing the actual fundamental part of the database,
Right.
not just changing the card.
Cool.
So I'm going to change that back. And so same thing here. If I go down to here, this is going to now have 10,000 instead of 100,000 like before.
Right.
So
Perfect.
yeah, just so that clears that up. Should we be talking in terms of percent instead of money? Helps with psychology and works for all account sizes. Yeah, that's true. You could definitely do it as far as yeah, you could calculate or for your own, you could change this to not be dollar amount. I just figured most people wanted to use this as some form of accounting for like if you were actually funded and you wanted to see, you know, what days you're making the most or how that, you know, how the day, how the week panned out in terms of dollars won or lost on different days of the week. And then you can correlate that to like your case study and be like, that's why I lost money this day. I think it's, you know, percentage is the same thing, like you said, but this, by filling this out, it does technically standardize it across different account sizes. You just have to put the relevant amount for you based on, you know, whatever account size you're trading. And, you know, not everybody approaches accounts the same way as well, right? Some people might have $5,000 in an account that they don't care about, or that they're, and I shouldn't say don't care about, but they're not trying to make withdrawals from that account or anything. They're simply trying to grow it. And so this number is going to change and evolve with them over time as they, you know, are hopefully able to grow it to 10K, 15, 20, 30, 50, if that's what they're trying to do. Other people, they don't have any small accounts or they don't focus on that. They strictly trade a 100K demo account until they're ready to go for a funding challenge. So it's really hard to make this kind of cater and be valid across the board. So if there's something particular that you would like to change that you need some help with, you can drop a question in the chat, or maybe we can chat privately about that. But yeah, I'm not trying to confuse people too much. So hopefully that answers your question there, Dixit. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly as well. Cool. We got the date sorted. Want to make a comment that may help somebody. Okay. And if one day we do not take a trade, we select BE in the part trade taken. Yeah. So what did we decide on that, Tyson, for days that you don't take a trade?
Yeah, so that's what we did now. Instead of like, you know, how we typically will title like EU long or EU short, all we're going to basically label it as is going to be no trade taken. And then I would say that the title for the case study, like in the case that obviously there's nothing available for the session, we might put no trade available, right? So that we, instead of bringing in a whole new template, that's what we'll do for the time being. Because guys, the end goal with this is, you know, obviously a fantastic template to really get the gears kind of grinding and moving in the direction that we need to, you know, from the standpoint to actually get this process moving. The end goal is to get you guys over to EdgeWonk once you're funded, right? Which is going to get you a lot more options and stuff like that. But yeah, for the time being, I think that's the easiest way to just kind of address this, Dave.
Cool. So yeah, just indicate somehow the purpose of writing it out. If you didn't take a trade, or if there was no trades available for a particular trading session that you were trading, nothing fits the plan, nothing was you're willing to put risk on, whatever. The purpose is just so that we can differentiate between you didn't do the homework versus you did, but there was nothing available, right? So that if you just leave it blank, then there's literally no difference. And you also down the line, if you ever reviewed that week, you also wouldn't know, was I just busy that day? Did I not trade? Was I sick? Whatever it is, you want to be able to kind of document that in some way, shape, or form. So find a way that works for you. It can be as simple as just writing no trade taken and then just leaving most of the things blank because there's nothing to really fill out there, and that'll kind of serve to show that was not a tradable session for you, or nothing showed up. So I'm just going to delete those.
You could also put some notes in there too, right? Like somewhere in the bottom portion of the card, you could just write in like, you know what, wasn't available to trade for XYZ reason. It's not that there was necessarily nothing that you were willing to take. You could have been busy or whatever. So ultimately what you put into this is your personal journal, right? So it should be used in a very, very personal way.
Right. One other thing while we're on this page that I can go over is, so this is the actual trades database. Like this is the home of that database, and there's different views set up here. So they're numbered here. As you click, it says 1 down to 8. And so you can review your trades, all the trades that you've taken or all of your case studies in different contexts. If you'd like to start looking at things from like a 40,000 foot view, a bird's eye view kind of thing. Or if you want to start trying to spot patterns and things like that, like certain days of the week aren't as good or as bad or whatever it is, right? Relating mood to your trading, all that stuff, you can kind of do that in here. So this previously we were always in the context of 1 week, right? That was the highest level. At a weekly review, we're looking at the trades from that week. At the daily level, we're looking at the trades from that day. And that's just to stay hyper focused on what's relevant. So each day you can pop in here if you'd like to look at it, but each day your main focus is what happened that day, right? Each week, as you're doing your weekly review, you're not worried about what happened 3 weeks ago. You're just looking at what happened that week until the point that you're done your actual like homework for the week, which is doing the weekly review and kind of filling out what that week looked like and what that felt like for you. After that, once you're done those sort of obligations, if you will, you can pop in here and start looking at longer term stuff. So it says right here, note, you should not be adding trades in any of these views. I think you guys know this by now, but the proper place to add trades is from inside the trading day page that corresponds with that New York session or whatever, session that would be for you. So you guys know how to add trades to the database from inside of the trading days page. So that's, but just note that there is like a new button here and you can technically add trades to the databases here, but that's not how you should be doing it because it's going to create a mess. So it says use this page to view your trades in various contexts. So views number 1 and 2 are your trades in the last 30 days. So 1 would be your trades taken and 2 would be your case study trades. And that's just going to show you a table of all of your trades with all the different properties filled out. So if you wanted to pop over to yours, you can see that. Another thing that this is great for is spotting any entries in your databases where you forgot to fill out some of the properties, because you'll see a big table full of trades with all the different things filled out, and you'll start to see gaps if you forgot something, and you can go in and hopefully remember or be able to fill that out, but you should always be filling it out in full at the time of entry. Then you have views 3 and 4, which is an all trades gallery. So this shows you a bird's eye view. So you would just flip over to, you can see the little icon. This icon is for a table view. This icon is for a gallery view. This is another table view. These are calendar views and another table view. So it's just based on different filters and sorts. You can save them as separate views instead of always having to fill out the filters and the sorts all over again whenever you want to look at things differently. So I've created a couple. You can create your own if there's something I didn't think of, but just keep these here because they match the write-up here. And then you can kind of have an additional one. But yeah, your all trades gallery is really cool for being able to see things from, a top down, and you can just scroll through. It's similar to what you see at the weekly review, except it's not limited to just trades from the last week. So after you do this for a few months, you'll literally have like pages and pages of screenshots of trades, and you can look in and see all the different information in terms of R, in terms of profit, in terms of all that good stuff. Then you have master table, you have all trades calendar. So same thing, just seeing it plotted on a calendar. You can see if you're taking a lot of trades on a certain day, like whatever. And then there's a master table, which just helps you find like any particular trade. This is helpful if you can't find a trade or need to batch update properties on multiple positions at once, which we haven't been over, but I'll save that for another day because I don't really have anything to show you that on in here. So I just wanted to show you guys that because that is kind of like a feature we haven't really been over yet, but there's all these different views. Once you have some data to look over, it's really helpful to be able to flip over and look at things in these different contexts. So yeah, that's it. If you followed along, you should be ready to go for next week. If not, it's a really simple process. It's all outlined right here in the weekly setup in this section right here. So you can just outline or set up a week and the 5 days to go along with it, and you should be good to go. There it says your journal is now ready to be used for the week. So do you guys have any additional questions? I see that there's a quote unquote stupid ass question, not Notion related. So I'll leave that for Tyson to address, but anybody else before I stop my screen share, if there's any other questions, I'm happy to try to help out right here. So
cool. I'll answer the question just because Carlo hit me up in the DMs on Zoom.
Cool.
He just wants to know what's going to happen because of the time change in Canada. So for those of you that don't know, we have something called daylight savings time. And essentially what happens is right now, it would normally be 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but the clocks actually went ahead 1 hour. So it's actually 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what I'm going to do, well, I've already done it, is in the Discord server. Where did I put that? In where it says Tyson's schedule. I'm going to be posting a link for a world clock so that you know exactly what time it is with respect to the time zone that you're in. So if you ever want to know the city in which we're situated in to refer to the actual time zone, we are based in Toronto is the universal time that I guess we use. So Eastern, it's actually EDT right now, I believe, right? Eastern Daylight Time. But yeah, just type in Toronto. I'm going to be posting a link. I'm going to do it right now for a world clock. So everything does get moved ahead 1 hour. So what was, let's say 7 o'clock is now actually 8 o'clock.
How does that relate to New York session, by the way? Because it's all based on actual London, is it not?
Well, I mean,
Did
the
London
bottom line
switch
is
their
I get
clocks?
up at 5 o'clock no matter what, right? So I still go about my day the same exact way. Like I treat the clock as it is, as opposed to
I'm just referring to, like, yes, New York and Toronto are the same, but I'm just saying, is the overlap between London, is it now an hour more or an hour less, or did London
Oh,
switch their clocks too? Like, because it refers to like banking activity happening overseas. That's kind of what the overlap refers to, right? So that's what I
right,
mean. Like, we can
right.
still trade. Like for me, it's still 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., but I just want to know if I'm up at 5, is that now
Yeah.
an hour too late or an hour too early or what?
Yeah, well, it would be, yeah, your gap would grow by 1 hour, right?
For this week only, I guess, right? Okay, Michael says London changes their time next week. So yeah, I
Okay,
feel like I remember this from last year. It's like a
cool.
1 week period where it's weird, and then it gets kind of back onto the same, yeah, 1 or 2 weeks. Okay, I'll look into it, and then maybe we can drop a message to
Cool.
let anybody know
Yeah,
who might
I
be
mean,
thinking
just to
about.
clear things up, guys, everything just basically gets moved an hour ahead if you are in Europe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so there's another question here. Just Eric is asking, can you go over changing the account amounts for one more time? Okay, so in the trades database, you need to be able to access the trades. I just need to put something in here, but you can pull up any trade that you have in your trades database to be able to access all these properties. And then this is strictly for the case study. That's the only place in this whole entire system where your account balance is actually referenced. Is it just going to use basically a standard account balance, whatever that is for you? If you like trading like a 5K account, you would put 5K. If you're trading 50K, you put 50K. If you're funded, you would put the base level of your funded account in there. So you click on this, and it's just going to show you the different things that are used to calculate this. These ones that are that say prop in front of them, you don't change that, and you would just edit this number right here in the middle to whatever that balance is for you. So if you had 500,000, you'd put 500,000, and then you'd click done. I'm not seeing that number. By default, it would show something like 1E plus 5. That's what it was when I set it up, because it just says total case study profit. Are you in this, like, are you in the trades database? We might have to troubleshoot this some other time shortly after this call, but it should be, yeah, you need to be up here in your trades database. And then any trade, you just open up that trade. And then at the top here, you have all these different properties. So this would say something like EU short if you were, took a short. Okay, sounds good, Eric. Just hit me up. That sort of thing is fine, obviously, for a DM. But if anyone else is having that issue, let me know, because this should be pretty standard across the board as far as I know, because I literally just duplicated this version that I'm editing for you guys. I just duplicated this before the call. So
is it because he's in the trading days database? Is that why?
Yeah, you could be in a trading day. Like, are you in a day like this? Are you looking at these profits here?
Yeah, because you won't be able to change those.
Yeah,
right?
You shouldn't be changing anything in the trading days. It would just be, yeah. So you want to make sure you're navigating straight to the trades database, and then open up one of the entries that are in there. If you've logged a trade, which you should have by this point, it could be a case study trade. It could be any kind of trade. Just open it up. And then in here is where it says case study profit with the little Sigma logo. That's where you need to click and edit this number. That's the incorrect number in your case if you're not trading 100K. So any other questions? Tyson, you can take back over. I'm just about done unless a couple last minute questions trickle in. But yeah, that's been it, guys. Hopefully this was informative and helped you guys understand the whole process and structure of a weekly review, and hopefully helps you get set up and motivated and excited for the week to come. Just don't let these types of things build up. So you want to make sure you stay as much as you can on schedule throughout the week. Also follow the flow chart. Don't take 30 trades in 2 days, and then this won't be a difficult process because documenting that sort of thing is a nightmare. So yeah, just follow along as best as you can. And as always, hit us up in the channels, the appropriate channels, for any questions or any sticking points that you're having or anything that doesn't make any sense. And I'm always happy to film a quick tutorial or whatever and help you guys out.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, anytime. Looking forward to next Sunday already.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, cool. I'm going to, I'll take over the floor here just for a few minutes. And yeah, so if anybody has some questions, just to kind of like close this out, I think everything's pretty well been covered at this point. But I just want to kind of note, like these these Notion lessons are not necessarily going to be this long and elaborate moving forward. So if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, it's just we're going through the growing pains of like actually making sure that everybody's on the same page. And we do have some sort of a video library to kind of account for all the different questions that sort of come up. Yeah, moving forward, they should, I mean, not that I don't want Dave to speak this long. It's just they'll progressively get shorter and a lot easier to sort of follow along with. But yeah, so if there's any questions to just kind of close this out, now would be your time to kind of do that. We have a couple things that we're going to be putting into the channels, whether it be today or early tomorrow between Dave and I. Yeah. See if there's any last minute.
One other thing that I'll say is if anybody is comfortable doing like a quick version of your weekly review on next week's call, just keep that kind of in the back of your mind as you do things. If you're comfortable with kind of showing your progress and your case studies or whatever, we can do that and we can go step by step with actual data, actual trades that are filled out.
Well, here's what we'll do, Dave, is let's make it a reward. I'll basically hold a poll of some sort. I'll get people to react a specific way, whether or not you've got everything done or you don't, and you actually want to participate. And the incentive to be able to do this and actually basically host a webinar to a certain degree and be able to show your process. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I just wanted to go through the process with an actual student so that we could do the thing together instead of me saying like, oh, imagine your trades were here and all that.
Let's incentivize this then. And whoever gets this all done this week and does all their homework, I'm sure there'll be 10, 15, 20 people. We'll pick a name out of a hat, and whoever wins will also get a free 60-minute one-on-one with either of us.
That sounds awesome.
Cool. So do your fucking homework.
And then there's this
Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's this little byproduct of doing the homework where you're actually going to become a sick trader too. But the one-on-one is the incentive.
Yeah. Well, anyways, preaching to the choir.
This upcoming week, Hugo. So starting tomorrow, just do, we're going to be going over somebody's case studies and trades. Like I'll be leading that part and just making sure you are basically, we're going to do the weekly review live on the call. So just document your stuff as you go throughout this week. And then at the end of the week, one person will get pulled out, and then that person will also get a separate one-on-one by the sounds of it. From
I'll do a post just kind of explaining it for the week. So don't and don't be ashamed or scared that if you took a couple unnecessary losses or whatever the fuck it is, it's not a big deal. Nobody's here to judge your performance. If anything, you're going to benefit from it more by coming forward. So don't stress out with stuff like that. Everybody's very much in their own lane, and that's basically it. So yeah, it'll be for this upcoming week. Hugo is what we're talking about. And what was the other one? Just for clarification, since I think I am kind of dumb, New York starts at 8. Fuck, lots of dumb questions from Carlo today. New York session technically starts, I believe it's at like New York Stock Exchange is like what we refer to as New York, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And I believe that's 9 a.m. is when it actually typically starts. So when I start trading my New York session, I call it New York session, is 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in my specific time zone. Don't do me like that. My bad, bro. You asked for it. Too many dumb questions, man. Cool. Okay, well, if that's it, we'll say bye-bye for now, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Just one other reminder too. So any days that we have the live trading sessions, which are on Thursdays, we won't have pre-New York narratives those days. And we also, what was the other one? Oh, and on Fridays, we won't actually have the 1 p.m. Trade recap seminar or webinar, if you will, because I'll be meeting up with you guys to build a case study around a specific piece of price from that week anyways. So that's all listed within the Zoom links. I've updated everything so that you can see what specific days and times all that stuff is at. But yeah, you guys can check that out. But yeah, other than that, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you all for joining in for the first weekly recap. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow morning sometime. And we'll see you at 1 p.m. tomorrow as well for the trade recap and breakdown. Have a good one. Thanks again. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow.